Hey guys, MD Gaming here, and today I want to talk about a controversial topic. But before we jump into it, I want to kind of go over what we're going to watch during this video. So I chose 4 different aircraft carriers to show the different gameplays, and we can kind of go through them by the numbers. So in the upper left-hand corner is going to be the Vesser. Again, that max damage of 174, that is a post-update damage counter. The Ryoju is going to be in the top right. That max damage is pre-update. The Ranger down in the bottom left. That max damage is going to be pre-update. And I'm going to have a brand new record from the game we're going to watch. And then the Surov, that max damage is pre-update. And honestly, I feel like the Surov suffered in this update. That's my opinion. So let's jump into the games. And let's talk about why I think it was a good move. So, first, if you guys are upset that it's happened, there's nothing wrong with being upset. Is this a 100% perfect rollout? Absolutely not. And you guys can voice your discontent in the comments for sure. We can have a Discord about it. It is perfectly fine to be upset. It is not a perfect rollout. But all that being said of it not being a perfect rollout, ships being broken, what the heck is going on? Why do they do this? I think Wargaming is heading in the right direction. If everyone remembers pre-update with the notes that were put out, everyone was excited. Everyone was pumped that now these aircraft carriers would no longer be able to spot destroyers, allowing cruisers and battleships alike to knock destroyers out of the box, right out of the gate, and spotting torpedoes. Granted, I don't think anyone had a problem with the spotting torpedo thing. I hope they bring that back. It lets the consumables make sense. The ships will have a little bit more sense. But that's neither here nor there. But everyone was upset that the carriers, and I'm guilty of as a carrier player, would spot a DD and just stay and hover over it until someone would destroy it, basically taking the destroyer out of the game. The other big issue about carriers is people would just go to the back of the map and just sit there and do absolutely nothing for the entire game. Being a non-factor for the blue team because it took forever for the aircraft to get anywhere, and then being a pain in the neck for the red team if they were winning, because then they had to spend 4 minutes just sailing across the map if the destroyer was dead, just to kill it, or hopefully maybe get the time to run out quicker. It was frustrating. I'm not gonna lie, it was a pain in the neck. And I think these updates are gonna do a good job about it. They're gonna get rid of the spotting. They're going to get rid of the loitering, but due to that changes the entire meta of good CV play. A lot of good players that I read, of course, on Reddit, always talk about how they're not going for kills. They're going for the win rate, which is going to be spotting destroyers, getting them destroyed, and then allowing the battleships and cruisers to then maneuver and hide behind things, because now the destroyers aren't going to spot them. But this changes it all. This now prevents destroyers from being killed. You'll see them on the mini-map, but you have to chase them until when they're in range, and they can then run away from you, so that it just be a pain in the neck. So it just changes all that. But because of that, Wargaming had to do something to balance the carriers out. They went from a spotting primary role to now just a normal ship that now fights other ships. And some of the aircraft carriers are on par with the damage that is dealt with other ships. And that's my opinion. There are some that are broken, but that, of course, is my opinion. But Wargaming, the way they decided to do that is they gave each sortie more aircraft and a higher regen time. And it makes sense. Because if your job is to spot and loiter, but now you're switching to a role of, I have X amount of fuel with these many planes, I need to do X amount of damage, well, you're going to need more planes to do that damage, and those planes are going to get destroyed quicker. It's no fun for a CV player to be deplaned and then wait say 2 minutes to have enough for one sortie. So they had to figure out the balance. Did they figure out the balance? No, absolutely not. They did not figure out the balance, but they're working on it. And that brings me to my next point. In the Ministry of Balance, every single update, we usually get 4 ships that get buffed, 4 ships that get nerfed. So, and that's like max, I would have to say. But that's 8 ships. And we're talking, say, the battleship has a reload of 30 seconds. We've dropped that reload down to 29 seconds. The cruiser, we feel like, is a little too strong. So we dropped the HP limit from 3,000 to 2,500. Very minute changes in the coding that just basically said, hey, we're just going to drop this down, or we're going to increase this just a little bit. But think about what they did to carriers. They got rid of the speed change. So now the speed consumable is gone, and now it's max speed or max slowness that they want. They have a refueling component to it. Their torpedo tactical like drop indicator is now doesn't go down as quickly. So this now allows for enemy ships to orient themselves and maneuver better against torpedoes if they're paying attention. But also makes it frustrating for carrier players because now they have to enter their torpedo runs a lot earlier. Again, like the refueling aspect of it. So they try to do the balance. They try to figure out how to rework the entire class. Yes, we still have the same carriers, but they're not the same in any aspect. You can consider them all brand new, like whole entire ships. And if you think of it like that, when we normally get 4 buffs and 4 nerfs, 8 total, and if you include some legendary ships, there's 8 carriers within one nation. And they did that to all the nations that have carriers. So there was a lot of changes, not to include trying to get the extra bombs for the Vicer for AP, Surov having the first bounce not count. So a lot of changes were made, and I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to get things out there. And yes, we're definitely suffering because of it. But you can't play test those many ships. It would just take forever. And if the player base is already upset with the way the carriers are, and you can see the carriers aren't being that effective in the game, well, it makes sense to just throw it out there and get all this data. Carriers are being played at an unprecedented amount, but what that's allowing Wargaming to do is to get all that server data and then be able to make those changes on the fly and then make the critiques until where these carriers can actually fit into the meta. And talking about meta, I think carriers are now going to play a stronger role in the meta, and that's what I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see how the game is going to shift, because now the carriers are no longer being just a loitering type of aircraft. They're now being a more attack-focused type of ship, just like all the other ones. You'll see when you're watching all this damage and everything, like the carriers will punish ships that go off by themselves, but they will also get not deplaned really, but they'll lose their sorties when battleships and everything are traveling in groups. Now, I've had some people say, not at legendary tier, they're just broken. Again, like this is the whole or the aspect I'm thinking of, not the broken aircraft carriers at this point. But if there's a carrier by themselves, if you watch the bottom left hand corner against this Ranger, like I only have 55,000 damage and there's 4 ships left. Watch what happens when 2 ships are left and they're by themselves. I have unlimited sortie ability to do as much damage as I want. But when there's a big group of aircraft or ships all together, I can only do 1 sortie out there. So it limits the amount of damage I can do if you travel in groups. If you travel by yourself, of course it's going to punish you. And that's what I think is great. It's going to encourage players to say, hey, I need to stick with so-and-so. You're no longer going to have Rambo Cruiser or Rambo Battleship going off and doing whatever he wants, hopefully. I mean, we're always going to have Rambos. But ultimately, this is going to hopefully change the gameplay. Granted, I'm afraid that it's going to then now force players to think, oh, I need to just everyone go to the left side to go against carriers. But I think that's going to auto balance itself out when, say, one team starts pushing up on the left side or the right side and outflanks them. There's going to be a happy medium. The other benefit I see about this is, again, like the spotting. I feel like this is a good thing. So we can't spot anymore. I mean, we know you can't see it, you can't attack DDs. And what's one thing the battleships hate the most? Light cruisers all by themselves behind one island. That is a pain in the neck. So now what battleships can do, if you're being attacked by, say, a light cruiser behind an island all by himself because no battleship or cruiser is going to sit back there with him, just ping it, sector alert. Say, hey, I need help. Sector alert that area. If you have a good CV player who now has the ability to attack, who can drop 3 sorties on a lone ship, he can go out there and start doing tons of damage to those ships, pushing them out behind cover and allowing the battleships the ability to then try to citadel them and knock them out of the game. The longevity in the ability for these aircraft to last longer and do more damage is going to be able to flush out the enemies in a different way. And I think Wargaming has the right idea in the entire process of this rework, and I'm excited to see what it's going to turn into. But again, like, I understand right now it is not good. There are some ships that are broken. But, I mean, if you look at my Vesser game that just ended, 76,000 damage is not that much. It's not a broken number. It's not like every single game I'm putting up 174. I put up 174 because every single ship wanted to be its own player, and they just were all by themselves. So I was able to drop a lot of bombs. I also got a lot of citadels, got super lucky, but they all travel by themselves. The Ryoju, I probably played 3 games in order to get a good score with that one. I don't think the Ryoju got any benefit from the update. I feel like it probably maybe got a minor update, but it's still a pain in the neck ship. 73,000 damage. It's close to my max, I'm not gonna lie, but it took 3 games to get there. If you look at the bottom right hand corner, the Surov, I would have to say the Surov is the one aircraft carrier that suffered the most from the update. It's harder for now the torpedoes to get in line with one another, so I have to start my bombing run earlier, which allows the enemy ship to turn. In this, the torpedoes are already slow as it is, so it's just a pain in the neck. But I will not lie, the Ranger has definitely received a super strong buff. But even with that being said, with everything about it, if you rewatch the video before, when there were 4 ships left, I had 55,000 damage. There was 2 ships left. I went from 55 to 96 after the Hugo died, and now I'm going after the Queen Elizabeth by myself when it's all by himself. So his AA is not going to be that strong. This update is going to do good things. It's going to make CV players no longer sit in that back corner and waste everyone's time having to sail all the way to the corner at the end of the game to find them. It's going to cause them to push up. It's going to cause the CV players to figure out where they want to go and plan, and hopefully they don't pick the wrong spot and push up where the enemy and then somehow figures out how to get past the battleships and then knocks the aircraft carrier out. I do think that there are going to be a lot of updates in the future, but I like where we're heading. I like the carriers the way they are. I think the gameplay is refreshing. I think the way that they're going to be played is going to be better. It's just going to find the balance. And it is going to be a nuisance. If you're by yourself, it's going to be a pain in the neck. But Wargaming has to balance it. It can no longer be, okay, well, if you attack battleships, like one battleship should be able to knock out every single sortie aircraft in the group. Well, I think those days are long gone, because then aircraft carriers are going to be deplaned within the first like 5 minutes because they don't have the ability to loiter and wait for planes or spot things and wait for planes to regenerate. They have to continually attack and attack and attack with this refuel function. So it's just a whole entire different type of gameplay. But guys, like, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I really think we're heading in the right direction. I think wargaming the way they did it, yes, it upset the player base, and I'm not discrediting anyone how they feel about how frustrated they are, but I think it was a smart move. I mean, you name any game that has come out that had any type of update, Call of Duty, Halo, you name it, and those games will always have update issues, glitches, or anything. And those you pay $60 to just get, not Call of Duty, but you play those $60 to get them, and even they still have issues even after pre-updates. But Wargaming knew that going into it, but they're going to work on the issues. This is not the 100% solution. This is the 40% solution that they're going to work on and get it fixed. But guys, hey, every single game I have is now over. As you can see, I got a new record for the Ranger of 150. But when there were 2 ships left, I had 66,000 damage, but those 2 ships were not next to each other. And because of that, my aircraft were able to run 3 sorties per. I like where we're heading. I think the CVs are going to start being in a good place. We'll just have to wait and see, guys. But I think we're doing good. I know everyone's frustrated. If you don't want to play, that's perfectly fine. You can wait till it's over. But just know the more that you play, the more information that you're giving Wargaming to make these corrections that everyone wants. And with that, guys, thanks so much. MD Gaming, out.